Let's talk about something you have studied in school: ancient trade routes, like the Silk Road, the spice routes, and the Trans-Saharan trade networks. But what if I told you there's much more to these routes than just the exchange of goods? These weren't just paths for trading silk, spices, or gold. They were corridors of power, espionage, and secrets that have shaped the world in the way we are only now beginning to uncover. And even today, their influence is quietly steering the future of our global economy. Intrigued, right? Stay with me, because by the end of this episode, you'll see the ancient trade routes in a completely different light. Let's start with one of the most famous trade routes, the Silk Road. Stretching over 4,000 miles, it connected China, India, Persia, and Europe. On the surface, it was all about trade. Luxuries like silk, paper, and porcelain traveled west, while gold, silver, and glassware came east. But here's the lesser known part: the Silk Road wasn't just about goods, it was about information. Think of it as the internet of the ancient world. Spies disguised as traders moved along this route, smuggling maps, codes, and secrets between empires. Some historians even suggest that critical military information exchange along these routes played a role in eventual fall of the Roman Empire. So was the Silk Road just a trade network, or was it an ancient battleground of espionage? Now, let's head to India, the heart of the spice trade. Spices like black pepper, cinnamon, and cardamom weren't just commodities. They were status symbols in Europe. The Malabar coast was the gateway to the spice routes, connecting India to the Middle East and beyond. But there's a dark side to the story. The Portuguese, who wanted to dominate this trade, used extreme tactics, poisoning whales, sabotaging rival ships, and even burning down entire ports. One of the most intriguing mysteries is the ancient port of Muziris, once a hub of this spice trade. Today, it's completely lost to the history. Could the Indian spice routes be hiding some secrets? Or maybe some records of some ancient empire? Maybe. Next, we have the Trans-Saharan trade routes in Africa. These routes connected the kingdom of Mali to the Mediterranean, bringing gold north and salt south. But alongside these precious commodities, something far more sinister were exchanged: people. Human trafficking wasn't a new phenomenon. It existed on these routes centuries before the Atlantic slave trades. Some records even suggest that entire villages were wiped out, their population taken and sold across continents. The golden sands of the Sahara hide not just treasures, but unspeakable truths about the darker side of the trade. When Columbus discovered the Americas, it marked the beginning of the Columbian Exchange, a massive transfer of crops, animals, and ideas between the old and new worlds. At first glance, it seems like a win for the humanity, but there's the hidden truth. With the exchange came diseases like smallpox that wiped out the 90% of the indigenous population of the Americas. Some researchers argued that these diseases weren't just accidents. Could these diseases have been an early form of biological warfare? Whether intentional or not, the results were catastrophic. And here's where it all comes together. The influence of these ancient trade routes hasn't ended. Modern shipping lanes follow the same path charted by these ancient traders. Global corporations are the new empires, controlling resources, data, and markets just as the rulers of old controlled silk and spices. And there's more. Today, new trade corridors are being developed, like China's Belt and Road Initiative or the Arctic Passage. Some experts even believe that the space will become the next major trade route, with nations rooting to control extraterrestrial resources. So in a way, history is repeating itself. Only now, the stakes are planetary. The trade routes we think of as ancient aren't just history. They are the foundation of the world we live in today. From the products we use to the power struggles we witness on a global scale. Understanding them isn't just about learning the past. It's about seeing the forces shaping our present and our future. So what do you think? Are we just passengers on these ancient routes, or are we still creating them today?